Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Today's show, I'm going to be breaking down the Raiders' breakout candidates in 2020. I'm going to give you 4 on offense, and then I'm going to give you 4 on defense. But first, what is a breakout player? Somebody that's about to have a career year. So let's first dive into the offense, where I got Tyrell Williams. And when you look at what he's going to be able to bring to the team, he's going to be the number 2 receiver here, which should take a little bit of pressure off him. And when you have a guy that's got as much speed as a Henry Ruggs, yeah, it's going to open up some things for him. But he scored 5 touchdowns in his first 5 games before the injury, and I think he knows that he needs to play well if he wants to be on the team next year. So let's look at Tyrell's stats, because I don't really think it tells the full story. Because if you look at just all these, you're like, well, Mitch, that's not really that, not very good. My answer would be, well, his first 5 games was actually very good, where he had 30 targets, 20 catches, 307 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And first 5 games, 5 touchdowns. What happened? The foot injury, the Liz Frank, he's basically said that it felt like he was running on fire. So I wanted to have a little bit of fun. Let's just say that Tyrell Williams kept up that pace for 16 games. It would have came out to 64 catches, 982 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that Tyrell Williams is going to have 16 touchdowns. That's not going to happen. But I do think that he can be a bigger asset in the red zone, and he can actually have a career year in terms of touchdowns, because the most touchdowns he's ever had in the year is 7. Why am I also confident? Because the Raiders are going to be able to move the football down the field better, because you go out, you get a Henry Ruggs in the draft. You have Hunter Renfrow in year 2. You go out and draft Bryan Edwards. You have Nelson Aguilar, who I know is going to be able to help here and there. Bottom line, Tyrell Williams is going to be solid, I think, in the red zone. The real question for me is, how many receiving yards is he going to have this upcoming season? Because when I look at his last 3 years, he's been under 700 yards the last 3 years. But his best year was 4 years ago when he had over 1,000. That's the Tyrell Williams I want. I want him to be a solid 1B receiver next to next to Henry Ruggs, and yeah, also Hunter Renfrow. So let me know in the comments section, how many receiving yards for Tyrell Williams this upcoming season? Let's now go to the tight end position, and last year I projected Darren Waller. I'm not going to go that far with Foster Moreau, but I do think that he's going to have a breakout year. Entering year 2 of his career, the Raiders, they plan on using a lot of 3 tight end sets, which I think means more playing time for him. Plus, he gets to learn behind Jason Witten. So let's look at what he did last year. Because even though he didn't get a lot of playing time, he did start to play more down the stretch, which I do think is very important. And when he was given the opportunity, y'all can see the stats, they show he was getting it done. But this quote here by John Gruden: "We want to use 3 tight ends at a time. No disrespect to the receivers, but we're going to put 3 tight ends out there, Waller, Jason Witten, and we're going to run it and use play action." I actually think that this is going to help open up things for Moreau, where, yes, you added Witten, but I think it's only going to be a matter of time before Foster Moreau shows that, wait a minute, he's kind of the better option there over Witten. So I just wanted to show you some red zone targets here by the tight ends from last season. Darren Waller had 11 red zone targets. What is a red zone target? A target inside the 20-yard line, where he converted that to 3 touchdowns. Foster Moreau saw 7 red zone targets, converted that to 5 touchdowns. Derek Carrier, 5-1. So if he gets more targets, if he gets more red zone targets, I actually think Foster Moreau, I'm not saying he's going to be up in like the 500 receiving yard mark, but actually if you want a bold prediction, Foster Moreau, double-digit touchdowns. Now, if you want the latest news and rumors and more live shows, hit that sub button, okay? I'm trying to get to 50K subscribers. Producer Dylan's looking at me like I've lost my marbles a little bit. You know what? That's okay. I'm breaking out here, my players, and I'm hoping the Raiders channel breaks out a little bit more on YouTube as well. So if you want news, rumors, and even more, hit that sub button. I would definitely appreciate it. Let's now go to Kolton Miller, my third player here on the show, where I think when you look at his upside, you can see it. An absolute freak athlete for his size. And if you go back and you look at some of the things that John Gruden said about Miller, he literally said that he's actually one of the best athletes he's ever seen. But his rookie season, let's be real, it was rough, right? And I don't think PFF is the all-be-all, but a 49.2 rating, not good. Last season, a 64.2. So he's getting better. And where does that rank among offensive tackles? About middle of the pack. So if he's year 3, has another year to learn, and I think the fact that he's getting to learn with some serious veterans, also very, very good veterans on the offensive line, that's going to help Kolton Miller take that next step. So if he can really cement that left side of the offensive line, I'm telling you what, the prediction that I'm about to give you on Josh Jacobs might not be all that crazy. So my boldest prediction, my breakout candidate on offense is Josh. And for some of you, you're like, wait a minute, didn't he already break out last year? No, I don't think so. I think he's going to have an even better year this year. And if you agree with me, type JJ. So this is what he did his rookie campaign. Pretty good, right? 4.8 yards per carry, over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Sure, all of them came in wins. But one of the reasons why I'm really excited to see what Josh can do, and if you play in fantasy football, you should draft Josh in round 1 because that's where he's going. But I want you to look at the end of this quote here, okay? We have a fullback, so we're going to use a 2-back set with Josh Jacobs and Ingold. It also says we're going to play old school football. So I kind of wanted to get ballsy here, and I kind of wanted to say that I actually think Josh Jacobs could lead the NFL in rushing yards here in 2020. That's why he's a breakout candidate. But before I dive into how many yards and how many carries I think he's going to have, I do kind of want to show you the last 5 seasons, the rushing leaders. So you got King Henry, Ezekiel Elliott's on there twice, Kareem Hunt, and Adrian Peterson. That's about an average of 1,483 rushing yards. So in my mind, if Josh wants to be the running leader, he needs to surpass 1,483. So, do you want to see my stat projection for Josh Jacobs in 2020? Give me a Y for yes, or I want you to give me an N for no. Now, for some of you that are watching, you might get with a YouTube ad break, and after that ad break, I'm going to let you know my stat projection here for Josh Jacobs. So we're going to let it continue to roll in. Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no. So we're going to have a little bit of fun, okay? So Josh last year was on pace for 1,415 yards. So let's just say, okay, because last year he averaged 19 carries a game. Let's just say he averages exactly, again, 19 carries a game for 16. That equals 304 carries. Now, I expect his yards per carry to go up. Why? When you add more talent, I don't really think defenses are going to be able to stack the box. So let's say he goes from 4.8 to 5.0 yards per carry. Now, for you math majors out there, 304 carries times 5.0 equals 1,520 yards. And I expect our offense to be better. I expect our offense to move the football better. So instead of Josh getting a touchdown every 35 carries like he did last year, let's say he gets a touchdown every 30 carries, which equals 10 touchdowns. This is my stat projection for Josh Jacobs this upcoming year. Is it bold? Yes. Is it possible, though? Abso-flippin'-lutely. So if y'all like this projection that I have for Josh, what I want you to do is I want you to type JJ, and I want you to like this video right now, because I think 304 carries, 1,520 yards, and 10 touchdowns for Josh is possible. When you look at our offense, when you look at the pieces we've added, plus you look at the offensive line, yeah, Josh is going to be getting fed a whole bunch. I'm excited to see what the kind of work he's putting in, because I know one thing, he's in really, really good shape. And if y'all want to get into good shape, go to pandasupps.com. Use code Raiders for 50% off. Like, it's 50% off everything. If you need pre-workout, they got it. If you're a vegan and you want some vegan supplements, they got it. If you want a fat burner, which personally I love, they have it. They also have BCAAs, all type of stuff, sleep aids if you can't sleep that well. Bottom line is, Panda Supps is hooking up Raider Nation. So for 50% off, you can go to pandasupps.com and you can use code Raiders. I'll put it in the description. It'll be in the comments. And yes, I use this product. If you don't believe me, you can look at my Instagram. All right, let's keep the show rolling here. So we talked about offensive players. You know what that means. It's time to dive into defense, right? So give me a Raiders player on defense that you think can break out in 2020. Let me know in the comments, and if I miss a player, you can always yell at me on Instagram. It's at MitchellRenz365. All right, let's get into the first guy here, where I got Mo Hurst, friend of the show. He's entering year 3 with the team, and when he was first taken from Michigan, I actually thought that he was good enough to go in round 1. Obviously, some heart complications pushed him down a little bit. They got him in round 5. But when I look at his 2018 and I look at his 2019 year, I think that Rod Marinelli is really going to be able to help Mo take that next step. Plus, the Raiders' defensive tackles is a lot deeper than what it was last season. Plus, he was pretty freaking good last year, where, again, PFF isn't everything, but I do like that their rankings here for defensive tackle, where Mo Hurst was the 28th best in the NFL last season, which is better than guys like Ndamukong Suh, which was better than guys like Gerald McCoy, which was better than a lot of other players that you were like, why don't the Raiders go out and get these people? Mo Hurst had a very good year. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with Rod Marinelli in year 3 with a lot more talent on the defensive side, like Max Crosby and like my next player here, Clelin Ferrell, where, let's be real, the 2019 draft class was one of the greatest ever, not just for the Raiders, in NFL history, and Cleveland really did not even show up. So if Cleveland can live up to that 4th overall pick, I'm telling you what, this team is going to be putting together real nice. I think, though, also when you look at the addition of Carl Nassib, that is going to take some pressure off Ferrell, who last season had 4.5 sacks, and 2.5 of those did come in one game against the Chargers. I also think, though, that when you look at reports, when you look at, people around the league, they talk about Ferrell, he was definitely battling some injuries last year. So he gets an entire offseason to get healthy. He gets an entire offseason to learn what they want to do. And maybe in year 2, he takes that next step. Now, I don't want to compare him to Max, because what we got in Crosby isn't really fair, being able to get a player in round 4 and then expecting Ferrell to be able to make that exact same jump. But when you are drafted top 5, there are certain expectations. So, Cleveland, I know you can do it. Just show up, play as hard as you can, because you were one of the best defensive ends, if not the best defensive end in all of college football in 2018. And you had an unbelievable career at Clemson. Let's translate that to the NFL. So, I asked you earlier to subscribe. And for those of you that didn't, don't be a donkey. Don't be an ass. Subscribe to the Raiders Report. Let's get the show going. If you bleed silver and black, if you want the latest updates, I promise you, this is the channel for you. It's 100% free. We're trying to break out, trying to get to 50K subs. So if you're trying to be a donkey, you know what? Then don't subscribe. Let's go with the number 2 player here. Or technically, yeah, number 2 on my list. Nick Kwiatkoski. And I love this move. He was the first player that signed with the Raiders in free agency. I like his versatility, being able to get after the quarterback, plus being able to defend the run, plus he's a pretty solid pass defender as well. Now, in 2019, the 76 tackles, I like this stat a lot. And I like the fact that he was able to really show the NFL world that he's a very good football player, okay? And when I think about how he's going to be able to help our linebackers, he's a perfect match with Corey Littleton. Corey Littleton, I think, is going to be able to rack up a whole bunch of tackles. I think he's going to be able to be great in pass protection. But for the Raiders, we've been wanting and needing a solid linebacker for such a long time. So you go out and get Kwiatkoski for 3 years, $21.5 million, I believe. And when you think about what he's going to be able to bring for a player who's only had 22 career starts, some people will be like, well, he's a little inexperienced. And that's true. But go watch the film. Go watch the tape. You want to see a player that was able to pick up the Bears defense as quickly as he did? It's impressive. And you want to talk about what a Gruden grinder is? It's Nick. And I'm really excited to see what he is going to be able to do, and it's why I have him as a breakout candidate. But he wasn't maybe the biggest name that we went out and got in free agency at the linebacking position. However, I've been kind of battling this one in my head. Who's going to have more tackles in 2020? Corey Littleton type CL, or is it going to be Kwiatkoski type NK? So last season, Kwiatkoski had 76. Littleton, the last 2 years, has had 125 plus, but Kwiatkoski only started in 8 games. So let me know who's going to lead the team in tackles, because I think it is going to be between Corey or Nick. So again, let me know in the comments section. Let's now go to the last player here as breakout candidates for the Raiders on defense. It's Trayvon Mullen, and I am the most confident out of all the players that you saw on the defensive side of the football. The player that I'm the most confident in to break out, it's Mullen. He is entering year 2 of his career, and when I watched this tape at Clemson, when I watched this tape with the Raiders, when he needed to step up, he did. He stepped up when it mattered the most, and that's what it takes to really be, I think, an excellent cornerback in the NFL. Now, when the Raiders traded away Garyon Conley, and, the Raiders kind of moved on from some other pieces, and once you lost Jonathan Abram and you basically lost your entire secondary, they turned to the rookie. and the rookie I thought stepped up and he played well. So I don't want to just show you tackles. I want to show you coverage stats. So when he was targeted, he gave up a reception 55.9% of the time, or 38 catches on the year, and only 2 touchdowns, which again I think is pretty good for a rookie considering the fact that he was basically getting matched up against the number 1 receiver against every team that we played, which again is pretty good for a rookie. So now you have Prince Amukamara, you have Damon Arnett. Hopefully Isaiah Johnson can just fill in here and there when he needs a breather. But if LaMarcus Joyner can finally play the way he needs to play, we have a solid free safety in Demarius Randall, Jonathan Abram. He's not going to be asked to do as much, but when he is picked on, I think he's going to take advantage of it. So Trayvon Mullen, I think, is going to have an absolute breakout. So obviously there's a lot of players, right? I mean, there's, basically 53, 55 players that I could have picked. Could have picked a lot more. So sure, I missed some. And if I could put all 55 players as a breakout, man, I would love to. But that's just not how it works. So what I want you to do, if I miss somebody, DM me on Instagram their name. You can yell at me. It's at MitchellRenz365. Now let's go through real quick the offensive breakouts. I got Tyrell. I got Foster Moreau, Kolton Miller, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. You heard it here first. Let's now go to the defensive side of the football. As much as I love offense, this is where it's going to matter. This is where if we want to take that next step, these 4 players, this is what turns a 7-9 football team into a playoff caliber team. If Mo Hurst, Clelin Ferrell, Nick, and Trayvon Mullen can all break out, this Raiders team going to the playoffs. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.